And now
your hosts back from Dunkin' Donuts. And now the group.
And now, here's our host to tell you more about what's coming up next. Host? Go, host. There you go, host.
What do? One, two. Yeah. All right. Might as well start this shit show.
It's time for BGFG.
Gonads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Fremont.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day of not going to Dunkin' and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now, here's our host to tell you more about what's coming up next. Host? Go, host. There you go, host.
Oh, welcome to BGFG episode, what the hell are we on? 345. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and unfortunately, Fremo Z is not joining me today. He's getting his cable and networking and all the happy stuff sorted out. So I am with you, and I'm glad he's not here because it has literally been a shit show since I tried to start doing this show, and I should have probably had it out yesterday as well, and things are just falling apart. It might be time for a new computer, which sucks because I don't want to build one, and I don't want to buy one. I'm just cranky. The video's going to kind of look like poo for the YouTubers. Sorry about that. It's just something I got to fix and repair. Probably work on it somewhat today or later on this week. But we have a good amount of stuff for this week. It's really kind of, I mean, there's a lot of legality things going on, a lot of lying, a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, which is the title of the show. So it's strange. There wasn't a lot of like meaty news. I mean, yes, I know there was news out there, but there's certain news that we don't cover on the show, and that's the ones that I wasn't going to do. But let's get into, let's just get into this week's show and see how it goes. First up this week is this week's news.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So the first thing we're bringing up is I can't even fathom that this is a thing or it's something that I don't know. It's hard to explain. Last month, a federal judge in Texas ruled that the NRA. Now, Texas is doing a lot of stuff right now that I don't want to cover because it really gets into it, and I don't want to ruffle any feathers or get hate mail because usually I save all the hate mail for when Fremo comes around. When Fremo comes around, it's definitely going to be some hate mail. But for me, I didn't want to touch upon the latest things that are going on in Texas because I feel that's too touchy. There's going to be a lot of opinions on it, and I don't want to push my opinions on anybody. But the other story I had from Texas is more of a question than anything else. So last month, a federal judge in Texas ruled that the NRA, the National Rifle Association, cannot claim bankruptcy. Can they even do that? And I don't mean the NRA. I mean the federal government. Can they stop you from claiming bankruptcy? I've never ever heard that happen. I mean, I don't support the NRA. I believe everybody should own a gun. This is my stance. This is not the stance of Phoenix Media Group. It's my personal stance. Fremo thinks differently than me, and we'll get on to that later on because there's some other things that I talked to him about. I don't support the NRA as a whole for some of their ideals. I believe everybody has the right to own a gun. I personally do not, but I believe you have the right, and I will fight for your right to own a gun and a weapon to protect yourself and your family and your property. But like everything else, they also have rights. Whether you agree with them or not, they have rights. The NRA is based in Virginia. They chartered as a nonprofit in New York, which, again, people are going, batshit crazy on this stuff, but you got to understand how some of the businesses work. I know people that claim bankruptcy like 7, 8 times with different companies. It's really a problem, but at the same time, this is kind of business as usual. And New York has a pending lawsuit that states that several top NRA officials have squandered, and I use quotations here, squandered more than $64 million in funds over the past 3 years. Now, if they embezzled, if they, I don't know, put it in an offshore account or something, that's a different. But you're saying they squandered. I don't get this lawsuit at all. Basically, top-level guys in the NRA spent money for their organization on private trips and shit, yachts, and all sorts of vacation things and stuff. And you think this never happens? I'm looking at you, Clintons. You guys are the masters of doing this. There's a whole hotel where there was once a tsunami. So, this is the type of thing that's been going on. And New York is saying that the NRA is claiming bankruptcy and restructuring to avoid paying any fines or doing any time. Firstly, I want to address, when you're at a top level of a major corporation or business or any entity like that, and you can look this up, you're kind of above the law. There's certain things you just can't do. You can't be prosecuted. There's always going to be underlings. There's going to be court cases forever that will never get you in trouble. But I'm wondering if New York, of all places, is claiming that this is something new, that people are claiming bankruptcy and restructuring so they can avoid paying fines, or that big businesses, spent money. Are you claiming that this is something new? Is this confusing to you? Like, I don't get it at all. It shouldn't be confusing. How the fuck do you think real business happens? I mean, come on. We've seen movies, and I'm not just saying that it's just movies either. I'm saying that a lot of time businesses, this is the way they do business. Even if you want to get as small as like your local doctor's office, they have pharmaceutical representatives that come in there all the time. And anybody that works in one of those places will tell you that these pharmaceutical industry people come in, they're good-looking people, man or woman, and they literally buy you the best lunches you could possibly have because they're trying to sell their product. This is how business is done on a large level. You'll take people you're trying to get an account for. Maybe you'll say, "Hey, look, we're going down to our facility in Copacabana. Would you like to come free of charge?" It's all those little things. Hey, we're going out to dinner. Let me buy you dinner. Come on, let me buy you dinner. And you take it to the most lavish restaurant. This is all sorts of stuff that happens in business. Again, I don't have an opinion on the ARA, but I don't think this is right for them either. How are you going to stop them? Either persecute the whole company or all the companies that are doing this. So if you find out that somebody is quote unquote squandering, they bought a yacht, a company yacht or a company boat to take out people, to take out clients and shit, then you need to prosecute them as well as the NRA, or let them do it too. Let the NRA do it too. It's one or the other. You can't have it both ways. Because you might have a hair across your ass against the NRA doesn't mean that you can stop them from doing something that they might want to do business-wise. And I think what's a bigger question is, why are they doing this so publicly? That's the bigger question. Again, I don't agree with the NRA and a lot of their policies, but there's still an entity in this country that has rights. And I think this is pretty much bullshit. Why are they doing this? And why are they doing this so publicly? The rules of business are changing, all across the board from places I work at. The evolution of business, COVID caused a lot of it, but the evolution of business is going. And I don't think this is right that you're taking away some of these rights that some of the businesses have to do it. So is the NRA going to be as scrutinized as, Goodyear Tire, that's one around here that, I mean, they probably have one or two shops left, if that. Are you going to persecute them too if they decide to claim bankruptcy because they bought extra tire machines or a new tire machine that does larger rims to try to generate business? Who's considering it squandering money? You know, who's making that call? I don't know. The rules of business are changing everywhere. Even the almighty Apple has their issues, which is also quite funny. Now, I want you to pay attention to this and tell your sheeple friend the same shit. Apple in Korea, you know, and this is huge. South Korea will pass a law allowing third-party payments on Apple platforms. You might be sitting there wondering, what the hell does all that mean? I will tell you. All of these different little businesses and stuff, you have to use Apple's payment process, which is why, you know, look, this is going to be an amendment to the South Korea Telecommunications Business Act. And it's at the point where it's just waiting for their president to sign it and make it law. And as of right now, Apple and Google are fucked. First of all, you have to authorize an app to be in the store, which is pulling teeth for Apple, unless you're one of the major developers and then it just gets scooted right through. But if you're a mom and pop or you just developed an app at school and you want to have it put out there, you're talking weeks and weeks and weeks. And don't forget, they take their payment, which, as you might have heard on the news, is 30%. That's a huge chunk. And the way they do it is kind of tricky. So I'm going to give you the example of a Fortnite skin. Fortnite is a... I know what everybody kind of thought I just said. That's kind of funny. But with Fortnite skins, you buy them directly from Epic. You buy it in the game itself. Apple doesn't want that. Apple and they rotate daily. So Apple doesn't want that. Apple's idea, and this is the reason why also Xbox isn't even on the store, on the Apple Play Store, because Fortnite and Xbox Game Pass has a bunch of free games that rotate monthly. Fortnite has skins that rotate daily. Apple, in order to get their little piece of the pie, they want you to put those up individually. So every skin that comes out at 8 o'clock on Fortnite needs to be put up individually onto the Apple Store. I assume the Play Store is the same way, but I'm speaking about Apple because I have an Apple product. And then if you're an Xbox Game Pass, if there's a new game coming out at the beginning of September, then you need to put that game on there. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Instead of buying through Xbox or buying through Fortnite, buying your little individual items, and that'll cost you, let's say something costs you $10. Well, when they launch it and you're in the app, that's just $10. But if you have it Apple's way, then not only did you pay for the service, but now when you go to download that, they're going to have to charge you a little bit extra because they have to get their 30% of that as well. So Apple wants to get their money. Now, they're a $1 trillion company for a reason, people. A lot of people do this. Some people don't. It's amazing that you have apps like Netflix on there. Come on now. You have Netflix on there, but you're not making them show individual movies on the store. This, again, you can't have it both ways, man. There's shit going on behind the scenes that people don't even know about. Same thing with that law that they're trying to pass. Same thing with Korea. Korea basically turned around and said, we're going to allow third-party payments. There's nothing you could do about it, Apple. That's the law of this land. And you said that you would abide by the law of the land that you were selling your product in. Well, guess what? South Korea is the first one that's going to sit there and do third-party payments. So now you can have Fortnite on your phone and purchase skins. You can have an app that's basically Xbox Game Pass and buy the games through Xbox or have already the games and download them onto you. Apple and Google aren't going to get their share, and they're really not going to be happy about it. It's going to be interesting. Most definitely going to change the way the court battles go, especially this one for Epic and Apple. And I think it was smart. As much as I love Apple, and I think they're a brilliant company, and I will always stand by them for the most part, I think they're kind of screwed with this because there's nothing you could do about it. And I think Epic was smart to kind of make the court case draw out a little bit to see what's going to happen over there. Because this could be a precedent that you're going to put up and say, well, South Korea is doing that. Let's just see how much the money is. How much money are they making? How much money is Apple making? Again, it's 30% is a lot of money to be thrown out there. And I think they have a little wiggle room to lower the 30%, seeing as they're both billion-dollar companies. I think Apple's recorded another $1 trillion year. Are they teetering on greedy, though, at this point? That's my question. A lot of businesses are always going to be greedy. That's just the way business is. But are they being a little too greedy? Are they wanting 30% across the board without any wiggle room? And if so, then is Korea going to make it change? You can't do it both ways. If somebody else is seeing it, you might want it done that way as well. I don't know. Speaking of greed and being able to throw money around crazy like, the tech giants, I got a cough. The tech giants are loaming around too now. The tech giants recently met with President Biden over cybersecurity of all things. I find this completely humorous, and I really wish Fremo was here for this one. President Biden had a cybersecurity summit. I don't understand this move that he did at all. Let me explain. There's been a lot of breaches lately. If you haven't read the news, I have a whole section of my news portal that's just dedicated to breaches, big and small. And there is a shit ton. Recently, there's been AT&T, T-Mobile. You remember Colonial Pipeline, SolarWinds. Those are just a few of them. There's a lot of other places that have been breached, for lack of a better term. President has voiced his concern over this, saying, and I quote, "Our skilled cybersecurity workforce is not growing fast enough to keep pace," end quote. Yeah, it's not growing that much. You know why? Because most of the time, you can't get into school. You got unbelievable amounts of loans. So those people aren't coming out of the college. The people that are already working in the industry, instead of training them, they don't want to be trained because, well, you're starting them at $15 an hour for something that important. You're going to get idiots. You got to pay to get the good people. I don't understand how he can come off saying something like that. It's not growing fast enough. You're not putting the infrastructure in for us to learn and get out there. How can you possibly say something as asinine as that? He had Tim Apple. I still can't not call him that. It's Tim Cook, Google Sundar, Amazon's Andy Jassy, Microsoft's Natella. So all of the big names. Satya Nadella had to climb out from underneath the president's desk to actually take this meeting. He was a little, he was already in there. Let's just say that. And Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan Financial, which I can only assume that the guy from JP Morgan was there by accident. Is he doing cybersecurity? But okay, JP Morgan is a financial institution. They might have, but they haven't gotten hacked anytime soon. The president said, and I'm paraphrasing, that cybersecurity is important and that the government needs their help. Okay. You need the help of these major corporations. I'll give you this, that without the child pornography thing that's in the news with Apple right now, Apple's devices are pretty friggin' secure. Microsoft's are pretty much not secure. Google's can go either way. It is and it isn't. It's kind of a crapshoot. So I can't really say too much about Google. Amazon's is pretty solid, so I see what they're getting at right there. But it felt like a bunch of bullshit and nonsense when you read the article that I posted in the show notes. It feels like a movie opening, like a summer blockbuster movie opening, where he's sitting with all these guys, these head honchos, and he's telling you that the cybersecurity is important and the government needs your help, and he's trying to rally everybody. I'll tell you how much the companies cared, from what I can see, from what I can read, is that Google unpuckered their lips long enough to say, off of the president's ass, to say that they'll pledge $10 million over the next 5 years. What the hell is that going to help? $10 million over the next 5 years. Why don't you get somebody in there to, loan out some people maybe? I don't know. Just, maybe. Oh, they'll also help train people, but only 100,000 of them. So, yeah, is that going to be worthwhile? You're going to train 100,000 people, and I don't think that's going to be enough to keep cybersecurity at bay or keep breaches at bay. I just don't think that's enough. There's a lot of people out there. And how many of those, let's be honest, how many of those 100,000 people are going to end up turning to the dark side eventually because they're not being paid or treated well by one of these huge companies that don't give a shit about anybody? And then Microsoft, of course, had to jump in because they're the little me too. They're already in bed with the government. So they said they'll donate about $20 million. But isn't that giving back the government their own money? I mean, you have so many friggin' governmental contracts, Microsoft. I'm pretty confident giving them $20 million is just like giving them some of their paycheck back or some of the money they paid you back. That's not really, none of this makes sense. And I believe there's something else going on. Behind the scenes. I really do. Because to have all of these guys there, which may or may not know too much about cybersecurity, to tell them that, they're going to donate money. What the fuck's the money going to do? Is it going to buy new servers or something? Because the people that are apparently there don't know how to run it. You're not being clear as to what you need. Do you need trained people or do you need better equipment? There's a big difference between the two. It's kind of like being in the IT department and having computers, and then switching over your IT department to Chromebooks. There's a lot more overhead with the computers that you got to keep running and working and updated and things like that. And a Google Chromebook, you can literally sit at your desk and log in as the administrator to all of them and do whatever you need to do. So it's a big question. Do you need the infrastructure? Do you need the people? Do you need the hardware? What do you need? Just, let us know. And people are definitely getting tired of this freaking governmental doublespeak and how they can throw around huge sums of money while the rest of us live paycheck to paycheck. I think it's bullshit. Julian Barley finally had enough. She worked for a New York credit union. I'm probably butchering her name. She worked for a New York credit union as a part-time remote employee, and she was fired. Now, again, I don't know what she was fired for, but I'm bringing up the story because I thought it was freaking amusing. She was a part-time remote employee, and she was fired. The key point here is, remember, before you all think Robin Hood and shit, she was fired. So she obviously did something wrong, whether it was not showing up to work or she did something wrong. But as usual, and this is where I was getting at before with, is it the hardware, is it the infrastructure, or is it the people? Because here's a person, the credit union contacted the IT department that they paid for, the offsite IT department, and asked them to remove her from the employee database when she got fired. Standard procedure. As soon as somebody gets canned, I used to have to do it, go in, take out their email, take out their access, done deal. They never removed her access, ever. So 2 days later, she logged in and started deleting files just randomly, just deleting shit all over the place. Then she sent text messages to her friend, boasted about what she did, which is how she finally, evidently got caught. But again, you didn't take out any of the server names. So if you didn't take her off the server, what did you expect to happen? I mean, was it a long weekend? What the hell's going on here? Again, I think there's stuff going on behind the scenes. What was she so angry about? How does she have access to that many important files? That's bullshit. As a system administrator, I would have definitely not kept a remote access person to have any sort of crucial information access to them. That would be something internally that somebody would have to mail them, and then that would have to have another protocol on top of that. But to be basically dial into a server and delete shit, I wouldn't have given a remote worker that type of access. That's just not something you do. So I'm kind of calling bullshit on this one too. It's just a weird week. It's just strange. So again, not a lot of like super important news. So that's kind of all the news I have for right now. So we're gonna get into this week's music. Again, YouTube. I apologize. Blame YouTube for not getting to see the music. People that are driving and listening to the podcast itself, you're gonna get the music. And this week's music, it's always hard to find new music. It really is. Gen X bitched and whined. Gen Xers, my age group, we bitch and whine in a song about being in the closet, not being able to come out of the closet, or the classic adults don't get us type angst, or my girlfriend, those type of angst. But all the stuff I've listened to lately is just whiny, no guitar solos, just whiny, basic musicianship. Is that even a word? And all they are talking about is nobody loves me. That's all it ever is nobody loves me. And I get it. We had our thing with, darker stuff and goth and shit like that. But even even if you listen to like early Evanescence, they're not constantly talking about Nobody Loves Me. And if they are, it's definitely hidden. It's something that you have to kind of read into. And I think that's pretty shitty. So what I did was I found something a little bit on the backside. And again, as the title of this week's show is Behind the Scenes. Behind the scenes, before Eddie Van Halen passed, he really kind of groomed his son, Wolfgang. He toured with them. He learned a lot about being on tour, about music, about writing, and things like that. And I think it's really cool that he's got his own song now, and he played all the instruments on it. The video, if you look at the video and watch the video when you get a chance, it's really cool because he meets himself in all of these different places. A lot of cool editing, and he plays all the instruments. Dave Grohl has done this. Prince has done this. I'm not saying he's in that category quite yet, but I think it's really cool that he's doing this sort of thing, and I think he's doing it with his father's blessing as well. So the name of the band is Mammoth WVH, which is kind of cool. Wolfgang, it's Mammoth and it's Wolfgang Van Halen. He played everything on the album, everything. And this week's song is going to be Don't Back Down. I think it's a good track. I really like it, and give it a listen. And we're going to come back after that with some stick style. I got some GPU updates and a couple of other things that are dropping that I thought was exciting. So if you're home and watching and or listening, feel free to take this moment to go have a smoke or drink or whatever it is that you do to loosen up, because the second half, think of our show as a mullet. Business up front, party in the back. So we'll catch you on the other side for, gaming news and stuff.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, let's get into the next problem. And I had a bunch of I never remember to do the pictures. I got to hire somebody to do the pictures for the stories, because I'm an idiot and I never remember to do that. It just sucks. I plan all ahead and then I can't do it because I suck at it. You think I've been doing this for a decade, I would have remembered to do half this shit. All right, let's get into this week's stick style, because it's definitely funny. That was a great song by Mammoth WVH, and that song was called Don't Back Down. So pick it up. It's good stuff. It's nice to see some rock and roll or hear some rock and roll, which is always lovely.
Gaming.
All right, first up in this week's Stick Style is our GPU update, and guess what? You still can't get one. And I don't know what the hell happened, but I started looking at prices again, and prices are skyrocketing again. And I don't know why. It's like, I just don't know why the prices are struggling or rising again. It's weird. The 3080 is now double the MSRP right now. And I also want to say that I got some nice emails. I got some shitty text messages and DMs that were like, quit whining, you should have got a bot, you should know better, all this shit about about a lot of the stuff that you can't get right now. And I'm not going to do that. I've even had people with bots offer to help me get some of the stuff that I want. And I'm not that kind of guy. I don't want to add to the problem. I want these people to go away. I want them to make no money. But like I said before, I want to do it the natural way and get one on my own. But again, it's I gotta have it. I gotta have that Halo Infinite Xbox, and I gotta have that controller. I mean, it's just there's a certain amount. I think I said it last week as well. There's certain games that I will never stop loving. God of War on the PlayStation. Now Ghost of Tsushima on the PlayStation. I think those are two epic games. Gran Turismo I can give or take. It's good for what it is, but I like more common cars and standard tracks. So, well, it is kind of standard tracks. Anyway, I do enjoy those. Halo's another one. I have always, since the first Xbox I bought, the day that Xbox originally came out, I think it was 2001. That first day, Halo was what I got. And I went home and I played the shit out of that for weeks. I mean, weeks. I didn't even take it out. And then I started trying other shit, but Halo's where it's at for me. Another one's Forza Motorsport. Though Forza's a little tough to buy into their bullshit sometimes, because one year, I think it was Forza 5, maybe? I think it was Forza 5. They talked about, with the ultimate purchase, you would get a Porsche, the cover car Porsche. And for those that have raced in our group and have raced with me before, I have a standard color. I do a silver car with a black racing stripe with red highlights. You'll find those three colors on the car somewhere. And I love those colors. And the Porsche was the cover car. And I want to say it was Forza 5. The car was a cover car, and for the limited edition, or the ultimate edition, you could go buy the die-cast car. Now, this was at the time that the 1/16 cars were like hugely popular. Was it 1/16 or 1/8? The bigger ones. They were hugely popular at the time. NASCAR had their complete line. You were starting to see movie cars drop. It was everywhere, and I was like, oh, shit, yeah, I want one of those. I definitely want that. I'm going to put that shit right on my desk. It's going to be awesome. I'll put it on top of the Xbox. You go to pick it up, and because I buy so much, my wife and I, they know us at GameStop very well. And when we walked in, he just looked at me, and I was like, oh, something's not right. They fucked up our order. We're screwed. And I go over there, and I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? And he's like, yeah, I got some bad news. I'm like, Steve, look, I'm not going to want to hear it. If you ain't got my game, I'm going to be pissed, man. This is Forza. This isn't just like a willy-nilly game or one of the kids' games you're going to get in a week. This is different. And this was kind of before, I think this was before digital downloads, I think. But his just face, and he's like, and he reaches under the counter, and he pulls up the car. And I went, you're kidding, right? I was like, come on, you guys are fucking with me, right? And he's like, no. He's like, I had one guy throw it across the store. I'm like, I kind of feel like doing that. I'm not going to throw it at you, but I feel like I want to throw it away. I kept it. It's still back in it's back here in the gimmick room somewhere. But I just, outside of that, I love special editions, and I buy every single thing. Ghost of Tsushima. Oh my gosh, I sold a statue to a coworker of what the hell was that game? It was a sword fighting game. Shit. Oh well, I'm sure if he's watching, he's going to be screaming at the monitor. But I always buy these. If it's a cool game, especially if it's one of the games I like, Gears of War, God of War, Forza, and Halo. Any one of those four, and I'm in. I mean, I am all in. Whatever you got. I've owned, like, what the hell was it, Gears of War? I own like 3 versions of the game because I got every single edition they could possibly sell. Love Gears of War. Why don't I play them now? Because sometimes you just want to play other games and stuff, which we'll get into later. So I can't get one of these consoles or one of these controllers, and it's really pissing me off, and I think it's wrong. But I'm going to get it. And I've said before on the show that I'll pay $200 to $300 above MSRP, depending on what it is, but that's my limit. Right now, that Xbox is going for double the price. The controller at one point was going for $50 or $100 more. It's about up to $200 more. That's a little much. And I did see a couple on eBay that were like $1,000. I'm like, you're out of your mind. I'm not paying $1,000 for a controller. That is some dumb shit. But I'm really upset at Microsoft for not doing something different or changing the game or blocking some of these guys, because this is their flagship shit. And I'm telling you right now that the people, at least that I game with, are very upset, because this is our go-to game on a lot of it. And I'm not saying that this is like, oh, you're whining. It could be any game. You know, not everybody likes that game. You're right. This is a franchise game, though. If it's a franchise game and you're putting all your eggs in that basket, I mean, you're doing full bore everything you possibly can throw in it because it's a franchise game, then franchise lovers should be able to get that game or get that console or get that remote controller. You should be able to do that. This shouldn't be a problem. You should have plenty of stock. Now, is it the chips? I fucking doubt it. Bottom line. Because you could take that Xbox console, don't tell me you don't have regular ones there, and just change the console. So it's not about a chip. You can just change the outside casing. So it's not about the chip. Look, I digress. My wife says I go too long sometimes on my rants. So I'm going to pull it back a little bit. Those are the 4 games that I really love, and I'll buy anything for them, and I'm really pissed off that I can't get one, and I want to get one. See, this is what a break does when the song breaks. Freemo gets the same way. So I love those 4 consoles. I'm going to get one. I just hope I don't have to pay too much. As for the console, the game itself, the Master Chief Collection, has been dropping a bunch of nice updates lately, though. I know Infinite is coming out soon. There's going to be a lot of cool shit. But the Master Chief Collection is still dropping nice updates. They just did new armor, which is so badass. If you haven't seen it, if you're into it, look, if you've never played Halo, shame on you. If you have played Halo, this is a good time to come back. We're going to see a lot of good things coming with Infinite. I truly feel that. But at the same time, the Master Chief Collection, I think, is very, very well put together. I've said this on the show episodes and episodes ago, that it's just a phenomenal system. The way they have it laid out, it's just really easy to use, really easy to navigate, I feel. And it's fun still. It's Halo, and you have all of them, which is great. But now they're going to have new armor that you can work toward, unlock, etc., etc. They have a samurai, they have a Spartan, they have a Viking. I think I have the GIF coming up in the video. Yeah, so if you're watching the video, you're going to actually see a bunch of these cycling through. It's a GIF, so you can see them. But there's so many cool ones. There's a samurai, there's a Spartan, there's a Viking, there's fantasy ones, there's a skull one, there's one with deer antlers. There is so much shit, and it's going to be beautiful. Season 8, which is when these are going to come out, is going to be dropping sometime in September. And I'm super excited to also say that apparently Griffball is coming back too during that time. Griffball is the game that was inspired by Red vs. Blue. And if you're a Halo fan or you just get into Halo and you're becoming a fan, go watch Season 1 and 2, especially, of Red vs. Blue. You will not regret it. It's hilarious, especially if you played the game. Red vs. Blue is a web show, by the way. So you're going to have Griffball. Griffball's got bombs, low gravity, hammers, swords. That's it. That's all you got. Swords and hammers, and you got to get the bomb. And it's right in the middle. It's like an arena. It's really not complicated. First time I ever played that was the first time I ever played an adult game was with my son. And it was probably the best time we've ever had together. And we've had some great times, but that one by far is great. Playing Griffball, I did something that we would normally do in a game as gamers. He turned to me as if I was hearing it in the headset. It happens. He looked at me and he goes, "Why you being a bitch?" I was right there. That sentence alone could be transported into any friggin' game you play with your friends. So he says that, and I was like, and I'm sitting there trying to explain. I'll never forget it. I stood up and I'm like trying to explain myself. I'm like, "You kidding me? I was right there first, and that's why I hit it. If I had to sacrifice you to get that," and I'm explaining it to him. And then as I pan over and look over at him, I realize he's 10. He's friggin' 10. I can't yell at my 10-year-old like that. I'm like, "Don't you call your father a bitch?" It was a phenomenal time, and I will cherish that moment forever. So to have Griffball come back in the Master Chief Collection is just friggin' awesome. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So you're going to get that in the Season 8 update, which is coming in September, sometime in September. Enjoy it. And speaking of my son, he told me that I need to try another game. He's been bitching at me, and there's a lot of games like Stardew Valley that I just didn't want to play. I'm like, "Oh, I love you, son, but no. Hey, let's play Halo, or let's play." No, I don't want to. So it's like finding that compromise. So he tells me one day to go check out Splitgate. I'm like, okay, what's this game Splitgate? Let me go check this out. I was like, what is this, Siege? And he's like, oh, it's easy. He's like, it's Halo meets Portal. I'm like, this already sounds stupid. I don't want to play this. But I'm like, it's my son, and we don't play any games together anymore. Me and my youngest used to play Destiny 2 together, and then he got way too good. My other son, we would play. I miss playing with him. It's harder, and that's a different story. But we played a lot of fighting games against each other and stuff like that. But he plays a lot of GTA, and I'm not really into that too much. And all he does is drive around and collect cars, which I think is awesome. So I'm not into that. And my daughter plays Stardew Valley and a couple of Japanese anime games that I'm not into those. So it's tough, but I support them in what they're doing. And so when my son said play Splitgate, oh, Dad, it's so awesome, it's amazing. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And I noticed it was free. Like that was the key to it when he said it to me. He's like, Dad, it's free. I'm like, well, if it's free, it's fucking for me. So I went, I downloaded it. It took a while. I jumped on. This game is amazing. I love this game. I'm going to play this. I'm going to play that game after the show, guaranteed. It's so the marketing is Halo meets Portal, and I can see that, but it's so much more. It really does a great job of adding all the things you love from a bunch of different, like the speed of it I found was very Apex Legends. The feel of the game itself was very Halo and like really fast-paced Halo matches. The Portal thing adds a whole nother level that you didn't even think about. There's not a lot of guns. There's a lot of guns, but there's not an overabundance of guns. It's not like a Destiny 2 thing where you're constantly getting guns and mods and you're just doing all sorts of crazy shit. It's very see, again, I want to say Halo-esque, but I would lean the guns or the amount of guns and type of guns more toward a Fortnite type thing. So it's really a mix of a lot of different popular shooters, and it looks great. It's not out of control. It's not like Crysis or Modern Warfare, but it's a first-person shooter, and the frame rates are good. You know, and being the graphics that they are, they look good, yet maintain a very good speed and frame rate, which is very hard to do when you have a lot of great graphics or more detailed graphics. The arenas you play are just the right size. Think of it like a little bit smaller than a Blood Gulch in some cases. That's the biggest. And then the smallest would be something very small from a Halo map or maybe Gulag, maybe, in Call of Duty. But it's a good size. They're good size arenas. And the way they strategically place the spots where you can use portals is also very good. It's well thought out, and I think it's very good. I mean, you got your standard pistol, shotgun, battle rifle, submachine gun. It's got all of those. The grenades aren't really grenades, though. The grenades are more to shut down other sides of a portal. See, you can't see into the output of your enemy's portal. So they could be standing there and they can just shoot the shit out of you nonstop. So you throw a little grenade and it removes them. But it's just so good. Like I said, the portals can only go in certain spots. And there's a lot of them, but not in the places that you want them. It's really weird. You got to play it, and it's free right now, so I would jump on it if you could. And I've been playing it more and more, and I'm going to play it, like I said, after the show. It's nice to see a game take hints from a game from the past and not try to reinvent or build a better tomato. It's nice to see that they're just using the same shit that works. And again, it's a feel of my generation, Generation X, our generation, doing these sort of things. They're coming into fruition. They're becoming the CEOs or the higher ups that are making. They're becoming the shot callers, is what it is, and they're calling the shots and they're making these games that we grew up on that aren't there. So me and Fremo, I talked to him on the phone recently, and him and I were talking about this, and we both agreed that we're waiting for somebody from Bizarre Creations to come back and make another Blur, because Blur, if you haven't played Blur, go and try to play it. Buy it from your secondhand store. If you see it, throw it in your Xbox or get an older Xbox. It doesn't even matter. It's worth it. It's like, I feel it's like the Mario of racing games. It was marketed as the adult Mario Kart. Mario Kart. It was an adult Mario Kart, and I think that's a perfect analogy. Fun cars, great graphics, good soundtrack, easy playability. Anybody can jump in. Stupid fun. Blur 2. Did they make it 2? I think they made it 2. But Blur. Either way, Blur. It was just... even the trailer for it will get you to go, yeah, I got to go pick that shit up. Everything on Splitgate is great. The graphics, the choices. I think it's really, really great. Go in and play it. It's an extremely easy game for us hard-worker Gen X's to come home, jump on, play for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, or on a day off, play longer. It's up to you. But you can play it for a short time and feel like you did something, feel like you're fulfilled, feel like you had fun. It's just quick-paced, and it gets the job done. It's really good. Yeah, so, wait a minute. Let me just read the next story headline, because there's a couple of stories I'm not going to do. They're going to be in the show notes, but I'm not going to talk about because I didn't really want to bring them up, just because I wasn't into them. So, the idea of Splitgate and bringing back a lot of the old things that we love in video games and first-person shooters, casual first-person, I would even say casual first-person shooters, is I want to see that in racing games. We have Gran Turismo. It's a racing game. It's a simulator. I want an arcadey sim like we had with Forza Motorsport. And I think there's a lack of attention to Forza Motorsport right now. I think it's all geared toward Forza Horizon, which is a bunch of idiots running around open world, and I think that's stupid. It's not fun for me. When I go in, I own it. And when I go in there, even with my cousins and my kids, just to mess around, I'm on the street, and they complain about it all the time. And I know there's shit to do, and there's barn finds, and I know all that shit, but I'm not into that. I want to race on a track. I enjoy the mechanics of a game like a Forza game. And, speaking of Forza, I came across an article that you'll see in the show notes that is all about... how can I put... Because I got to segue properly. So it's all about the worst racing games. Let's just say that. That spawned this next segment. The shitty racing games that are out there. And that's why I brought up Forza. Forza Motorsport, to me, is perfect. I'm not saying Forza Horizon's bad. Not at all. Good mechanics, good game. Not my cup of tea, and not a lot of people's cup of tea. We want to race on the track. We want to build up our car proper. Not just throw a coat of paint on it and shit and make it look good, and then that's it. And then drive around a countryside hitting sheep. That's not what we want. Most racers don't want that. They want to go in a game and competitively race and have a great time. And I don't think that's happened in Forza. And this is hard for me to say, but Forza Motorsport might be dead. I don't know if they're coming out with another one. There's really not a lot of information on it. There's speculations, and yeah, we're doing one. But I want to bring it back to Forza Motorsport 5. It still looks great. Top Gear does a lot of the car walkarounds and commentary, which is priceless. I think out of all the Forza Motorsports, 5 was my favorite. But all racers kind of just want a straight-up drag racing game. Forza gave us a drag race, and it was mediocre at best. I want a fun drag racing game, and I will say this now. I've watched Street Outlaws, like Street Outlaws. I enjoy watching it with the wife. We both enjoy it and find it fun. But their game came out, and I bought it. And I don't think I've ever talked about it on the show because I was so pissed off. The game is fucking awful. Borderline unplayable. The cars don't control for shit. I spend more time doing these stupid obstacle courses that I don't give a rat's ass about. Just want to drag race. The voice overlays from the guys from Street Outlaws is so friggin' phoned in, it's not even funny. They are phoned in. They're canned messages that are just spliced in. There's even one or two that I heard that there was background noise. Right now, if I'm shut up for 5 seconds, you'll hear the background noise of my fan. At least you should. And then if I mute the mic, you don't hear any of it. You hear that in some of these audio clips. It's really shitty. And now they're releasing I mean, that was the first game, right? Street Outlaws, the list, and it was awful. And even when you did drag race, I get it. But if you let me drag race consistently, I'll have fun. Instead, it's one drag race, and then I got to do this fucking obstacle course, which is taking forever, and the car handles like shit because they have the worst mechanics I've ever seen. Everything's bad. Everything is fucking bad in that game. Well, somebody greenlit Street Outlaws 2. And I really don't know why they did. Street Outlaws 2 is going to come out. And I'm going to get it. Just because I have hope. I have hope upon hope that this game will not suck. And I'm really hoping it doesn't suck. But I'm not holding my breath. Because that first game was fucking god awful. It was so bad. It really was almost unplayable. Oh, so that's my bitch about Street Outlaws. Let's get into this last segment today, and this was actually well, before I get out of that, we're gonna Street Outlaws 2 is gonna have 60 frames a second, okay, steering wheel support. It's gonna be out September 21st. It's $40. You can get $45 to get you the digital deluxe. I'm gonna do that just because the special edition gets you the OG Crow car. If you watch Street Outlaws, it's gonna get you the original Crow car, 3 sets of rims, red, white, and blue tire smoke, and the Black Skull parachute. So I'm going to get it because there's no way it could be worse. Don't forget to check out the Stick Style webpage, not webpage, Twitch account. On Twitch, you can look up Stick Style, and we're going to be playing a lot of that there, and I'm going to be doing those reviews on that channel, and it's going to be funny. So check it out toward the end of September. Now, let's get into this week's final segment, and I don't even know, like, this was such a funny conversation. I just can't wait to explain it to everybody. Okay. Oh. For what it's worth this week, I had to take a drink for that. Because for what it's worth, I don't even know how to start this. Damn you, Free. See, Freemo interjects his bullshit even when he's not here. And I can say bullshit because he can't defend it because he's not here. But he will be here. This happened on a phone conversation, so just go with it. So a friend of our wives had a discussion of a video they saw about how there's so many STDs in a nursing home. See, I just put it out there because there's no other way around it. Now, there is a plethora of STDs running around in a nursing home, and there's a reason for that. So in a nursing home, it turns out, which was unbeknownst to me, so this is where I'm going to get thrown off of YouTube again, and Freemo gets pissed that he's not here to help out. There's STDs running rampant in nursing homes, and a lot of it is because they just enjoy having sex. And it's a funny thing to say that out loud because when you think about it, some of the things that they say is like when this interview happened, and I'm going to explain for this, you'll understand where I'm going with this in a second. When they did this interview for these people, they basically said, they're like, look, I've been married. I was married for 50 years. I'm in a nursing home now. My kids have grown and moved away. I want some companionship. And there's nothing wrong with being an honest married person for 50 years or however long it was, and your partner passes away and a little time goes by. It's okay to date. It's okay to do this. You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just don't understand how. I get that you want to do it and you want companionship. I agree with that 100%. Die happy or live the end of your days happy. Have a companion. But the idea that there's this much sex going on, I mean, it's bad. Like, look at the show notes and check out the article that I posted. It's freaking bad, man. Like, they're really going at it. there's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to take that old people have sex, but they have a lot of sex. So much action that they actually based a new game on it. Yes, I said game. It's called Later Dater. Later Dater. That is friggin' priceless. And if you're watching the video stream, I actually have a picture of the cover on the video stream. It's called Later Dater. And again, it's this game is like Leisure Suit Larry for seniors. It's really a game, and I feel like some of the stuff that they posted on it, I feel like the game is kind of directed like a helper for people that are just going into the nursing home and kind of saying, "Hey, you saw Margie down at the clay event or the make a birdhouse event. She's good looking, and you like to approach her because she's hot." Or, I saw Larry down at the food court. Or Larry just got a delivery from his kids. His kids really love him. And when I saw him answer the door, he didn't have a shirt on, and he's still got a great six-pack. It's those shits that are in this game. I can't even believe I'm talking about this. Fremo bet me that I wouldn't. It's just it's funny, and it's shocking at the same time to realize that the elderly in nursing homes are having sex. You don't think of that. You think of them as knitting, hanging out, and bitching about one another. But in actuality, they're having a lot of sex, which is strange. Oh, so that's it for this week's show. There was not a lot of good news. I'm sorry. This might be a throwaway episode. I thought some of the shit was funny. Fremo's going to be back very, very soon. He's getting some shit lined up and shit straightened out. Don't forget, they had a lot of storms. They had 2.5 days of hard rain. That's a lot. We had 6 hours of it, and we had flooding all around here in the Northeast. Like crazy flooding. There's parts of Pennsylvania that are buried in water. So, just to have 2.5 days of it, that's absolutely nuts. But he's going to be back on very shortly. We have a plan in place. And it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be good. But that's it. Catch us on Stick Style. Fremo pops on there from time to time. And we're always looking for new people to come in from the Gen X, from the same mentality. BGFG lovers, Stick Style lovers, come on in. We have a YouTube page where you can go see all the highlights for the games that we play. You can also hit the BGFG YouTube page. We have a lot of the history of our stuff. Some of the episodes of Fremo are on there. So get it, and we'll catch you next week, and hopefully we'll have a lot more stuff. That's it for this week. Tense Down, show's over.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.